Hello and welcome to today's session. As always, we are trading an Apex Trader Funding evaluation, aiming for that 20k target off a 300k challenge. And we are looking for opportunities in the market around the open today on the DAX. Because of the 300k amount, we are trading the full contracts, so the FDAX U5 currently is the futures contract that we're looking at. And down below, I've also got the Mini DAX, or the FDAX MU5, which is the smaller contract size, just in case it does provide some insight as to what traders are thinking. So we're just building a whole heap of data, trying to understand where the market's likely to go, and using a combination of the order flow as well as these pivot points over here. So basically, the pivot points help guide me on the direction of the market, the likely rebound areas and that kind of thing. So price points to watch out for. Whereas over here on the order flow, I've got no real indication or indicators of where things are likely to turn around other than the raw data that comes through. Now, the raw data actually stems from the centralized exchanges, and that is basically the buy and sell data. It's all centralized, so these are the only contracts coming in and out of the market, and you don't get that over here on the CFD chart. So I like to basically use both in these live sessions and show people how it works, and pretty much combine the two to try and obviously assess when we can get in and out quite safely, but ultimately it helps avoid certain trades that look good on a CFD chart, or perhaps even the order flow itself, but are best to stay out of. So if there's no traction there from the actual demand, the buyers and sellers, then we can identify that in the order flow. So it's a really good combination. At the moment, I'm 5,300 up, basically, so 5,299 in profit. I've got to get to that 20k to actually get funded though, so I've got 15k or a little bit less to go. We'll have a look at the stats. So 3,200 trailing max drawdown. Now, the reason that's not 7.5k is because a couple of days ago I left a trade run. It went well into profit, but I didn't close it early enough. So basically, that's the issue with the Apex Trader Funding trailing max drawdown. It causes a few issues like that, where you do have to stay on to each trade, even if it's running in profit. You can't just set your stop loss in a position and then just let it run. You do need to monitor it, because basically if you go all the way to your full trailing max drawdown in profit, so let's say you're 7.5k in profit on an open trade, you've only done one trade, it comes all the way back to square one, to zero. That will clean you out. So even though you haven't lost any money at all, the trailing max drawdown can still wipe you out. And that's why you need to basically sit and be very vigilant and watch these trades as they occur. As for the analysis on these two markets, we have the pivot points over here. So we've got the pivot kind of central. It's a lot higher than the close gap today. We do have an unfilled close gap from the 24th of June, which I believe will probably fill. Obviously, if we head down south, we're probably going to go and clean this gap up. And then we've got the yearly R2 down here as well. So there's quite a bit to kind of turn us back around at some point to the downside. The S3 is quite a distance away, so we're going to hopefully get some volatility at the start of the market or at the open in about 8 minutes time to give us a bit more indication as to what the market's going to do. We can see that obviously we've got the pivot, we've got the breakout long and R1. The levels are very spread out up above. So unless we see a really good indication or a very impulsive move into one of these levels, then we're kind of going to have to rely on the order flow to tell us whether the market's actually going to respect it or not. And you can kind of see that on the charts themselves, on the CFD charts, but you can't quite get a full grasp of the supply and demand. So for example, over here where we kind of had a push up outside the Bollinger Band in pre-market, hit 26, I would say that's a sell limit contracts, and then the market just fell away. You don't see that on the CFD chart, so that's why having this level 2 data for the DAX on the Eurex is really quite important. It helps you stay out of certain trades and also have more confidence in staying in high quality trade setups. I'm anticipating, obviously we can always have that spike up at the open, but I'm anticipating that we will head down towards this close gap to fill that gap, and potentially this close gap from June, which was quite some time ago. So we'll just have to wait and see what the market does. If we do push higher, that's going to give us some more incentive to go short if we get a really good rebound off one of the levels, or if we simply start to see the order flow really turning around. So we're going to be really relying on this data today, because the levels don't have this confluence like we see back here with the triple banding. We don't have that sort of activity today. So we had the triple banding high and low, got the close in the middle yesterday, which forms quite a strong bond in that range. Obviously it did fall through. Now I think I left the session yesterday with a medium amount of profit. I think I took quite a bit more. I think I took maybe another $500 off the table. We end the session with $600 loss. I think I made that back, and then I made an additional 500, I believe. Don't quote me on that, but I think that's about where we left off. Hi Trek Lord, thanks for joining again. Yesterday, I believe it was quite good. Recovered from the loss that we suffered, and then got a little bit more out of the market. I was actually long off one of these rejections down here yesterday, and it was obviously not the greatest point to be playing around, and was able to get out at the right price. So that was good, because after that the market just fell away. So fortunately I didn't just hang in there and sort of take a massive hit to the downside. I got out at the right price. Hopefully we can do a similar sort of a situation again today. I'll go through and quickly, we've got about 5 minutes, so I'll go through and do the larger scale analysis. So monthly, really bearish on this current candle, and it looks like the market's kind of turning around. We're very close to the close gap and this R2 yearly level, so there's a chance that we may kind of reject off that like this wick did. So we came all the way down, went a little bit over, and then it's rejected right off that for some time, and now we're only just getting back down to those levels now. So that was about about 3 or 4 months ago. On the weekly, we have seen some support around these levels, so there's a chance we may bounce off this close gap. Obviously we'll have to see what actually happens, trust in the market and the data that we're seeing, but on the basis of a pre-market analysis, that's what I'm looking at. So we're kind of at the lows. We may either break through, or we might get a situation like this where we kind of bounce off it and stay within these ranges here. Nothing really on the Bollinger Band, so I'll leave that alone. On the daily, yesterday we went down below the lower band, and we're now rejecting. So it could indicate that we may go long today, but not always the case. Just something to take notice of. Similar on the 4 hour, we kind of hung in there. This has all been sort of pre-market or out of the market timing. So we may get, ideal situation actually would be a really strong push down, fill this unfilled close gap. and then start to see the order flow really kick off and take us long back into the area where the price has been quite happy, the volume profile. Yeah, thanks Trader Dan, thanks for coming back as well. Yeah, it's afternoon at the moment here, so I got 5 o'clock, or yeah, 3 minutes to 5. So, but yeah, 5k on the 300k. We'll see if we can get closer to that 20k mark. Hoping for a really strong push down today, but we may not get it. Obviously, the market does like to push up generally, but I'm hoping we fill this close gap and the previous unfilled gap as well. So we're outside of the Bollinger, or close to on the 4 hour, close to on the daily as well, particularly if we get down to these levels. So that's something to be aware of. That basically means that we're likely to get kind of action like this. We came down, touched the Bollinger Band, and came back up into the normal trading area in relation to the standard deviations there. So same on the 4 hour. The 1 hour is further out because obviously that's tracked down with that massive drop yesterday, and the market, I guess, had a bit of a reaction off that S3, but ultimately powered right down through it. Didn't quite get to this unfilled gap, which is nice. Still forms a bit of a target for us. We've got 1 minute till the open, so I'll just hustle through this now. On the 30 minute, if we come down, close this unfilled gap, we'll be outside the Bollinger on the 30 minute. 15 minute, we're already out the top of it. It's very thin, so whatever happens, we'll be outside the 15 minute Bollinger Bands, I would say. Just sitting on the 5 minute now, obviously taking note that we're outside on, or close to outside on the daily and the 4 hour for the Bollinger Band low, meaning that I'm looking for longs. That doesn't mean that I won't get in short to hopefully target this close and unfilled gap though. So 10 seconds to go. I'm just going to be a little bit quiet while I watch the market and see if I can identify a good opportunity to enter. I've got my quantity set to 1, which is good. Always try and check that before you start trading. That looks like buying to me, followed by aggressive selling, but the buyers look to be in control. We'll just see if that stays true. We'd love to see a really strong impulsive move in either direction to take us in and give us an indication of where the market wants to go, where these big players are going to push the general consensus. We've broken up. If that can continue, it's a lot thinner. If we see a really strong situation like this 20 or the 26 back there, I didn't want to sit on it too long, but basically if we get a really big ask order up here through this thin trading, then I'd be looking to get short off that. Just at the moment though, I'm not seeing anything in particular to guide us in a long or short. That looks like aggressive buying still, aggressive buying. It's very even, 39 to 30 on the short side. I'm waiting for the opportunity to say, okay, this is going to go short. If we can get all the way up to the pivot in a really impulsive move, lots of thin volume to take us up there, followed by that big ask order that I'm always looking for, that's what will make me want to get short. Also guys, I appreciate your likes on the live video. If you do like these sessions, that always is a big help to me. Makes me know that people enjoy the sessions and find value in them. It helps me keep coming back each day. If you do want an Apex Trader Funding account, I do have the link in the description. I think it's still 80% off at the moment, so quite a good saving there. That link will give you the discount, and also if you use GFT or Global Finance Trading as the discount code, that'll work too. So really thin volume. If we get a really big ask order, the market may be looking to push us higher, but I'll be scared to get short. I'll be scared to get long because we've got this big target down at the close in the unfilled. So I'm not convinced in any which way just yet. Really just waiting for an indication on the order flow or for price to move to one of these levels that I like to play around with. I have a feeling we're going to head south because the buyers haven't been able to sort of project the market higher. We've also got a big order here, which looks like potentially aggressive selling. Maybe some limit orders up here, but that looked to me like aggressive buying at the open, which is fairly normal as well. But it hasn't been enough to push the market in a particular direction, so sellers may have a little bit more control than they normally do, given all this order flow coming through. So the market's kind of just toying with us at the moment, really just waiting for an indication that we're going to have a really strong move. As I mentioned, the targets are the close or this unfilled gap down here, if we can get in short, and then I'll be looking to probably buy around those areas to fold back into the volume profile where price seems to be happy trading for now. So I've got currently looking for short opportunities. Got that thin volume, and the ask sort of pulled out a little bit. It was 9 contracts, not quite enough for me. 14, it's getting better, but I'm still not ready just yet. My finger is on the trigger though, if we see a really strong movement, and I may just have to get in at the market price. So I'll be hitting sell at market if I see an indication here to go short, because I think it'll be a really quick rejection, and then we'll just start heading towards this close gap. I'm just going to get in here. Looks like a lot of aggressive selling. Not really the ask order that I was looking for, but it looks like aggressive selling. I'm just going to get out. So made a quick 75 there. I'm not sure this is it. So we've got a lot of aggressive selling coming in, but I'm not sure this is the place where we're going to actually start going short. So I took a little snippet out of the market. I could be wrong that it will keep going down, yeah, and it is. But I didn't want to hold this trade if it did choose to go up to this pivot point. So we're really tracking down now. If we can pull back, head towards this pivot, then I'll look at getting in again. But this could be the move that I was anticipating. So we're up 75. It's not the worst outcome, but on a 300k account, it basically doesn't make a dent. And I would have thought that this sell-off would have needed a bit more traction than this kind of activity that we've seen here. So if that's enough to pull it back in the other direction, that's fine. But it's just, I thought we would have had a bit more aggressive selling throughout to really move the market. Looks like we may have some buying here coming in because we're kind of at the close of that previous candle now. So potentially some buyers were going to maybe head back on this candle pricing higher. We'll see if these buyers are enough to hold it up. So 5384. I'll just have a look at. So we've got 3,347 on the max trailing drawdown. which is fairly generous. We've still got about 15k to hit that target. So the market's not quite definitive about going short just yet. It's really got to start to make some moves. What I've seen, watching this order flow, what I see happen is the price stays in these ranges, and then all of a sudden it just really pushes out. The red, the buyers, so red, depending on where the buying is coming from. So down at the bottom of the candle, it looks more like aggressive buying. So I'm on, let's say I'm a buyer, I tap this side on the depth of market, but what it takes me in on is the ask side. So I'm aggressively getting in on the buy side from, I guess, the bid side of the depth of market, which from the bottom, it's basically saying, okay, these people are just hitting whatever is the market price to get in long. And that's often indicated by the ask orders being collected towards the bottom or like towards the lows. Whereas if you see that activity up here on this 9 contract, for example, that is more likely to be a limit sell. So if I clicked up here and it's higher, I'm getting in at a higher price and I'm looking to sell, so the ask would be then a sell. So Trader Dale, his book, I think I've got it in the description, it goes over the difference between aggressive buying and passive buying. And a passive buy is just where I sort of hit a contract below this ask side order. So let's say I press buy on this contract at 23421. That would be a passive buyer. And that's what we see down here at the low of this candle. We've got bid entries. It looks more like people have done a passive buy, I guess. I don't know if that sort of makes sense. It's quite hard to wrap your head around it because there are two, I guess, a buy and a sell for the bid and a buy and a sell for the ask as well. So it's about trying to understand which one probably has control at this point. So for example, this 14 contract, because it's in the middle of nowhere, it's quite hard to determine whether that's a buyer or a seller. But I'll go back to this contract back here. So we've got 26 on the ask side. That's a limit seller. And they've just said, right, I'll take all of the contracts that are on offer basically, and we'll push the market lower. I'll see if I can find an example where the buyers start to take control from aggressive buying. It's more this activity here, so I'll zoom in. See how we've got more red coming in, so we've got some limit orders and then we've got aggressive buying, so the red or the ask side gets hit and it pushes that market up. So depending on where the position of that order is, that will give you more guidance as to whether it's a buyer or a seller on the bid or the ask side. So for example, at 14, it's in the middle of nowhere. I'm not sure whether that's a buyer or a seller. Now, I'm quite happy that I did get out of that short. Obviously, I probably rushed it a little bit. But as you can see, the market's kind of retracing back on itself. It hasn't just completely disintegrated down towards this close gap just yet. Just trying to figure out whether this 14 was an aggressive seller pushing the market lower or a passive buyer with a limit order. So the market's gone up, it's come back, touched that price, and people are in for a buy. Not sure which way it is. At at the moment, the market's not really giving us too much. Just seeing if the mini DAX has anything more on offer. Really just waiting. So as I sort of sometimes mention, the trading's very much about patience. It's not about being in the market. It's about waiting for the right setup so that you're not taking heat for too long. So often I'll trade at the open or the London market open, and I'll be looking for opportunities where the market is impulsively moving in a particular direction. I'm looking for really strong rejections. This looks like it may be more buying because we've got bid sides followed by ask side orders pushing it up higher. If we get really thin order flow right up to the pivot, then that will be helpful. At the moment, we're kind of in the middle of nowhere. I wouldn't be confident having a stop just above this pivot because the market may not respect this level. So I do want to get in short, but I'm not seeing the information I need to be confident to be able to hold it when it, like for the time when it turns around. So really just waiting it out. It's a bit of an unexciting session, unfortunately, this one. We have had a good run, so we're on, I think, day 4 or 5, 5k up, so about $1,000 a day ultimately. And we were probably bound to have a bit of a slow day eventually. We're 14 minutes in, so perhaps over the next 15 minutes we'll start to see a bit more activity, but for the moment it's very passive. The issue with this kind of movement is, even though it's not moving much right now, and you put your stop in quite tight, the market can always have a really massive push a little bit later, at the 30-minute mark, for example, or in that last sort of, that second 30-minute schedule of the first hour. I'm hoping this is aggressive buying, but we're not cracking that previous high on the 5-minute candle. So I'm just waiting it out. This is the hard part, is basically keeping that patience. Very slow day. How's the NQ today? Are you seeing much activity? I think when it goes, it's going to absolutely hammer, but we're really just waiting for the market to do its thing. If I go and mute, I'll be back. I'll still be watching the market, but I may mute from time to time while the market's a little bit slower, because there's not really much to commentate. Again, so notice how I could be wrong here because it's a very sort of small sample size, but this 14 contract and then this 7 and 6 down the bottom of the bid side looks like limit orders to the buy side are being hit, and then followed by aggressive buying. So it's almost like the market wants to go higher. It just doesn't have the steam just yet to push it up higher to this this pivot point. Let's quickly check. As far as the bands go, we're up on the 5-minute and the 15-minute, but every other Bollinger Band doesn't really have much weight. It's miles away to get to the higher end. Got a 24 contract down here. I'm not sure what that means. Maybe aggressive buying. Somebody's said, okay, we want to push it up from these lows and they want it to go higher. I'm still anticipating we're going to go short at some point, but I'm just not ready. Thank you for the second like, whoever that was. Much appreciated, and thank you for joining. Just waiting it out, remaining patient. The analysis says, or from my analysis anyway, is that if we hit this pivot, we start to see activity on the depth of market and order flow, that's our indication. While we're in the middle of nowhere like this, unless I see really strong order flow indication, then I'm not likely to get in. When it happens though, it happens quick. So I've got to be finger on the pulse, watching. So we've got a 9 and then followed by aggressive selling down here, but the main DAX contracts aren't quite there. So the CFD charts seem to have pushed a little higher. We've got a potentially an aggressive seller here on the 7 bid contracts. Do we have any more takers to take us a little bit higher before we start going short? Because it's not really strong enough indication for me to say, oh, that may be it though. If we get a bit more of a spike up, that's me. So we've hit 35 bid contracts, ask contracts. I'm hoping that's not a buyer at that price, but I'm in short now. So we've come up, hit that pivot. We had 13 contracts here, possible limit order or stops or whatever. Then we had a 36 after some thin contract pushing higher. So that tells me that we're likely here to go short, unless this was an aggressive buyer saying, right, we've touched this level, I want to send it long, which could be the case. I'm only in for one contract right now, just to see what plays out. We're getting a little bit more volume coming in now. Maybe cleaning up some stops before we go short, perhaps. Or it could be aggressive buying. But at the moment, I'm going to hold steady. We're forming a bit of a wick on the CFD charts around that around the pivot point, and my target is still the close gap. So I really need, I guess, some aggressive buying to come in now. But it's a slow and steady day, so I'm hoping we get some really strong reaction. I'm noticing also the CFD charts seem to be ahead of these futures charts. 10 contracts there. I'm hoping that's not a limit buyer. I'm hoping that's still aggressive selling. I'm going to try and keep my cool and stay in this trade unless I see an indication to say otherwise. So often I'll kind of panic and I'll say, oh, take the profit off the table. Unless I see a massive heap of buyers start coming in on this order flow, I'm going to try and hold this position. I'm only in for one contract, so I can take a little bit of heat. We've got 3,200 on the trailing drawdown max, which would take me to, it takes me up to 23580. So it's a fair distance away. If I maxed it all out, I'm hoping we'll turn around off this level. There's every chance that we may not though, so just be aware that sometimes the market is just a straight buying day. For whatever reason, people will just be flooding the market with cash, and the market will rise irrespective of any of these levels. So it's something you've always got to watch as a trader. The markets don't always respect your levels, and it doesn't respect what should happen. So you've got to always be ready to jump out if you hit your limit. So if you haven't got your Apex account, I do have the link in the comments there. I've pinned it to the top. So I think it's 80% off at the moment. It's quite a hefty discount, so you're only really paying 20% of the fee to go in and have a go. I do like the bigger accounts now. The reason I like the 300k over a 25k is if you fail, the reset cost is so much lower than buying. I guess it's almost the same as buying a new 25k account is to resetting the 300k. So from that perspective is, you pay it once, you get in, and then you can reset the account and start over for a lot cheaper because the reset fee is actually fixed. So I find that's quite a good way to go. The only thing that really bothers me about Apex Trader Funding is the trailing max drawdown on the same trade. If you're in a winning trade, I find it a bit silly that it trails you on the way up. That to me looks like aggressive buying, but I'm hoping that it's just a bit of a false positive there. I've got a lot of sellers on this side. It looks to be a lot stronger. We've got 23 down here, 23, 21 to 10. So I feel like it's a lot stronger for the sellers right now. Obviously that can change, so we've got to watch the order flow, the in and out, like a hawk, and try and make good decisions as the market's running hot. So basically, I think that's it for me today, guys. Thanks for coming and joining the session. Basically, what I'll be looking for is I'm hoping this market will go down to the close gap or this unfilled gap. I may look for buying opportunities from there, but I may not as well. If it starts going above this pivot, then I'll either be in hot water or I will have exited the trade. Thanks again, Treklord, for being active in the chat. Hopefully we'll come back and see you tomorrow. Have a good one, guys, and best of luck with your trading.